amazing here what we're sharing. Vance, you shared something about David Crystal's book. Which book is that?
Well, the name of the book is The Great Debate, and it's spelled exactly the way I put it on the screen. His premise is that taking something that George said just a moment ago about whether the different what that's doing to our language. He sort of cheekishly titled the book the GR8 DB8 to make the point that, well, his premise is that, you know, things are going to change. I mean, we talked about Shakespeare last night. Look at that language. The reason you're having so much problem with it is the language has evolved so much. So but people in that time, I mean, they didn't even separate their words with spaces. They just wrote all out on one line. And so these little innovations that came along in the language were certainly irritating to the people who were already using the language in that way. So, you know, these things are changing.
They're going to kill us. My professors are going to kill us. If I ever use that in a communication, like, you know, a chat or something, if they ever see that kind of thing, I mean, I'm terribly careful because I don't want to be killed. I mean, this is totally frowned upon where I, you know, belong. Great, it has to be spelled properly. Otherwise, I'll be accused of destroying the English language.
Mark Pegram wrote a book called Blogs and Bombs, I believe. And it was, I think, his first book. And he starts off the book with an essay written in this kind of textual language. And he sort of analyzes it. The student turned it into a teacher who showed it to Mark, and Mark put it in the book. But he said that the content showed some skill, you know, and some depth of feeling. But of course, this is not the way we write, or at least you're not taught to write. But, you know, well, I don't know, look ahead 50 years and see what happens.
Yeah. It's as simple as that. This is a new code. As much as we have sign language, for example, it's a different code. If you just go to the Arabic language, there is the written, you know, standard Arabic form, and 101 different dialects, spoken dialects, you see. These are different codes. You cannot just say, well, any of these is wrong and cannot be used. So you see.
Yeah, that's a very good example, because in your text messages, when you're using English, you use little codes as well. And when you're using Arabic, I'm sure you do also, because I know they have different diacritical symbols to replace the, you know, so you can actually write in Arabic, but it comes out using the English keyboard. So you've got these different symbols. Sometimes the same are used in English writings. As I've, you know, seen a lot of Arabic text messages from my students when I was working 20 years in the UAE. So interesting, you know, it's changing even under your own nose on your own keyboard.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, so I mean, this has been real interesting, real